Welcome everyone tonight. My name is Alan Easton. I'm a member here at the Ethical Society of St. Louis. I'd like to welcome you all to our building. The Ethical Society is a humanist congregation. We emphasize the supreme importance of ethics, irrespective of theological creed. We assert the worth and dignity of all people. We learn and practice our ethics both in our congregation and in our community. We work to promote a kinder and fairer world and to protect the natural environment. If you are interested in any more about the Ethical Society, you can pick up some literature which is in the rack in the foyer behind you there. And I hope that tonight's talk and the discussion are productive, and I hope that our brand new air conditioning system kicks in. I really do hope that, and I hope that your visit here is a pleasant one to our building. Now we'll hear from Mr. Harvey Ferdman of the Missouri Progressive Action Group.
Welcome. I'm Harvey Ferdman with the Missouri Progressive Action Group. I hope you find this evening motivating and informative. I want to thank our co-host, the Ethical Society, and acknowledge our speaker and our panelists you'll be hearing later. I was going to tell you a bit about MOPAG, the Missouri Progressive Action Group, but since our committee did such a great job of writing up our mission statement on the handout that you have, I think you'll have the opportunity to read this on your own, and I'd rather tell you a little bit about how it is that I ended up standing here before you this evening. Ever since I learned about the American Revolution, I've been proud to live in a country built by people who believe in self-determination. Self-determination for every individual, and at the same time, a country that encourages all people, each by their own means, to contribute to the maintenance of a government established to serve the common good. As the motto of the seal of the great state of Missouri says, let the good of the people be the supreme law. I believe in a government run by people, who are elected by people, who are working for the good of the people. In other words, while corporations and wealthy individuals certainly can and do participate in our government, they should not dominate it. I feel that Common Cause, who you're going to be hearing more about tonight, is a group that is dedicated to leveling the playing field within our political system. After our successes in World War II, our citizens developed a great trust in our government, and in my opinion, many of us allowed that trust to become a reason not to be involved in the governance of our country. I believe that post-World War II trust has been violated by for-profit instead of for-the-people interests. Interests which have taken control of many of our elections and thereby many aspects of our government. In the words of Dwight D. Eisenhower, beware the undue influence of the military-industrial complex. I'm here tonight because I feel it is time to return to the principles of a government that believes in self-determination and the maintenance of common good. We at Missouri Progressive Action Group hope this evening's speaker and panelists will further the cause of maintaining a government that was formed to further the common good. It is with sincere pleasure that I introduce Starr Marsh of KWMU, who will introduce our speaker and moderate our panels.
Is there an air conditioner repairman in the audience? If so, please stand up. We need you, and we need you fast. It's nice to see such a nice crowd on a warm night in a warm room. Thank you very much for coming. You know, the biggest perk that I have in my job is getting to meet a lot of very, very interesting people, from celebrities to Pulitzer Prize-winning authors, to politicians, and to local people from the neighborhood who just are doing a good job and need to be recognized. Well, bingo again yesterday when I had the opportunity to talk for an hour with our special guest tonight, Bob Edgar. As you know, I'm sure he is the president and CEO of Common Cause, a position he's held since the year 2007. Common Cause, as I'm sure you also know, is a nonpartisan, nonprofit citizens lobby organization seeking openness and accountability in government. And God knows we need a lot more of that than we're getting today. Dr. West to make it happen too, but we'll hear more about that. Bob doesn't come to this job without some very impressive credentials. He's a former Pennsylvania congressman. He served as a Democrat in Pennsylvania for 6 terms, 12 years during the 70s. Calls himself one of the Watergate babies, was that it? And for 7 years, he served as the General Secretary of the National Council of Churches of Christ in the USA. If there is an issue that you are concerned about, and the reason you're here tonight, I'm sure, is because there are many issues that you're probably concerned about, Common Cause and Bob is concerned as well. On our program yesterday, the subject of our individual ability to affect change came up, and it is up to us. As Bob will be telling us momentarily, the question is, are we up to it? Let's have Bob Edgar tell us what he thinks. Bob, come on.
Just proves that I believe in the right to bear arms. Before we get started, I really need your help to feel more relaxed, and I want to do a couple things. I'm the Forrest Gump of religion and politics. I was a preacher at age 19, I was a congressman at age 31, I ran the Committee for National Security under Paul Warnke, who negotiated the SALT II agreement. I spent 10 years as president of a graduate school and 7.5 years as general secretary of the National Council of Churches. And you'll remember my first week on the job. I flew to Cuba and picked up the 2 grandmothers of little Elian Gonzalez, the little boy who was lost at sea, and flew with Joan Brown Campbell, who I replaced, and focused mostly on ending poverty, healing the earth, and working on peace and nonviolence. 5 years ago, I became General Secretary of the National Council of Churches. I became Common Cause. My wife says I can't hold a job. But when I get into an audience like this, I need to warm up a little bit. So I'm going to first have you do a call and response. And secondly, how many of you like quotes? Okay, I'm going to read some quotes that I think you might like, and if you want more quotes, I got more quotes up here than I need. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the state of the world and the state of the nation we're in, and then bring it down to the issue of ALEC, which many of you have come to talk about. And then I'm going to close with a reading, and then the most important part of the program is the panelists who are going to come up and personalize ALEC to this state. But first, the call and response. If you are able, please stand, and if you're able, put your hand on someone's shoulder. It won't hurt you. Don, come over and give Don Don's going to put his hand on my shoulder. Now, I just want you to repeat after me. Are you ready? It's okay to touch. This is the Ethical Society, so be careful in touching. Repeat after me. We are. We are. We are. We are. The leaders. The leaders. We have been waiting for. We have been waiting for. The second call and response. Corporations. 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 Are not people. Are not people. Third. Money. 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 Is important. Is important. It's part of speech. It's part of speech. But money can stifle speech. And finally, legislators, city council people, congressmen, should be able to regulate money in politics. You guys are really good. Let's do that first one again. We are. The leaders. We have been waiting for. Sit down. I like lots of quotes. There's an African proverb that is very simple. It says, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, walk together. I met Dr. Martin Luther King 5 weeks before he was assassinated. And less than 10 years later, as a young congressman, I volunteered to be one of the 12 congressmen on the Select Committee on Assassinations, looking into the death of Dr. Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy. So I interviewed James Earl Ray, the assassin. I liked the dreamer better. But here's what Dr. King said. He said, you and I will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words and actions of bad people, but for the appalling silence of good people. And then there's that great quote from Bobby Kennedy, who went to South Africa. He was in South Africa in 1966, looking at apartheid, and came away, could have been very cynical, as some of you might be about the world in which we live and about the politics of our nation. You might be a bit cynical. But Bobby Kennedy said this. He said, let no one be discouraged by the belief that there's nothing that one man or one woman can do against the enormous array of the world's ills, against misery and ignorance, injustice or violence. Few will have the greatness to bend history itself. But each of us can work to change a small portion of events so that in the total of all those acts is written the history of our generation. And here's a quote from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I liked him. He was a little quirky, but remember when Social Security was put in place, life expectancy was 62 years for men and 75 years for women. When Social Security was put in place, there were just a little over 2 billion people on planet Earth. We now have 7 billion brothers and sisters on planet Earth. But listen to what FDR said. He said, the test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. Now, if you really, I didn't actually bring a Republican quote, except Teddy Roosevelt signed the Tillman Act in 1907. And you know what the Tillman Act did? The Tillman Act said that corporations should not put money into politics. The robber barons were very active. The railroad barons were very active. And it was Teddy Roosevelt in 1907 that signed the Tillman Act in place. So make that the Republican. Oh, I have one other Republican to quote. And his name is John Gardner. John Gardner founded Common Cause. On August 18, 1970, Common Cause was founded. If you go back and look at that first press release, John Gardner said, as a moderate Republican, you remember when there were moderate Republicans, John Gardner said the first mission of Common Cause should be to shut down the Vietnam War. This is 1970. He said the second mission should be to address poverty and racism. The third mission should be to renovate education, environment, justice, family planning. He had lived through the 50s and 60s. He had lived through the civil rights movement. He had lived through the burning of the cities. He thought everyone was represented in Washington, but average ordinary citizens. So he founded Common Cause to be the people's lobby. Here's the final quote from John Gardner. He said, an excellent plumber is infinitely more admirable than an incompetent philosopher. The society which scorns excellence in plumbing as a humble activity and tolerates shoddiness in philosophy because it's an exalted activity will have neither good plumbing nor good philosophy. Neither its pipes nor its theories will hold water.